This is Signal A Stellaris Game, a VR roguelite that uses the medium in less than traditional fashion as you navigate a spaceship throughout the galaxy using third-person controls. This releases for the PSVR 2 and PCVR headsets October 5th, 2023, and is currently available on the Quest and Pico platforms as well. It's always nice to see a game in VR that isn't in first person, but that doesn't necessarily make it a good idea, so let's see if traveling throughout this dangerous universe while dying again and again is worth it. Hello virtual boys and girls, Ryan for the VR Grid here, and before we get to it, if you enjoy this review, then please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and leave us a comment with your thoughts on this release. Now, let's get to it. The premise here is a simple one, placing you in the role of the captain of a starship hit by a massive wave of energy with your only clue to its origins being a distant signal being broadcast from unknown regions of space. Unfortunately, that wave was more than just a simple blast of energy, as it seems to have caught you in a time loop that resets back to the wave's initial pulse every time you die, forcing you to start over in a universe that's ever changing. An opening tutorial breaks down the basics of controlling your ship and firing its various weapons, with your weapon selection being mapped to your dominant hand. You can choose left or right, while flight controls are mapped to both hands. It's a system that works well enough, though admittedly, whenever I took a break from the game and came back to it, I seem to always forget how to fly my ship, as it's a combination of face button presses and thumbstick direction that my brain just didn't want to commit to memory. It didn't take more than a few seconds to remind myself how it all works, and once I was back into the groove of things, I could enjoy the game once more. You have 3 weapon types. Lasers have long range and are great at depleting shields. Blasters are shorter range and rip apart ship exteriors, with missiles having unlimited range and delivering massive damage, though you can only carry a few of those, with the first 2 ammo types having infinite supply, but need to cool down if used heavily. Every time you restart gives you a different path, with ever-changing encounters and loot. Said loot comes in 3 forms. First is cold hard cash, which can be spent at vendors you'll run into on your journey, or can upgrade the buffs you've picked up on that go. Those buffs can come from random encounters, space creatures, and boss battles, with each being able to be upgraded 3 levels for increased efficiency and effectiveness. Those run buffs could add more missiles to your arsenal, increase the power of each weapon type, shields, repair your hull, or add any number of unique powers that could be the difference in getting that much further on that go. The last type of loot is good old-fashioned experience, which stays with you after you die and can be spent on permanent buffs for your ship, which affect not just your ship, but also reduce vendor costs, increase random loot values, and a host more advantages that should make each run just a little easier. It's a good system, and like any roguelite, you'll have good runs and bad ones, with the key being to try and try again, and while the game did get a little samey after a few runs, taking a short break seemed to be all I needed to recharge my motivation for my next attempt to get to the source of the signal. There are 7 galaxies to get through, with each containing 6 encounters, which range from simple battles, elite battles, which are much harder, creature encounters, which may or may not include combat, vendor encounters, away missions for your crew, or unknown areas that tend to provide some unique surprises. Any instants that involve you making a decision or exploring a planet are handled by text only, usually giving you multiple choices that could yield reward or disaster depending upon your selections. Once you beat the game, you'll unlock new ship types with all new upgrade trees, and there are also daily challenges and online leaderboards as well to keep you returning to the Stellaris universe, and while I don't particularly care about those sorts of things, I'm sure there'll be welcome inclusions for some. I will say that my initial impressions of Ghost Signal were a little underwhelming, as it's very clear that this is a smaller VR title that shows its standalone roots. I don't mean to be insulting, but rather to tell you to keep playing and move past the somewhat lacking presentation, as once I did, I got hooked on the game loop. Scanning each new stage for precious resources to spend on upgrades, learning how each galaxy's enemies behaved, seeing how each buff affected my performance, and running into new encounters really kept the entertainment value quite high, with deep runs taking somewhere in the neighborhood of an hour or more. Now, while the visuals didn't blow me away, they don't look bad by any stretch, offering up some fantastic sci-fi backgrounds and truly unique creatures and encounters that can be quite impressive. You'll be staring at the void of space, which may have a planet, space station, or something else happening in the background while you steer your ship around asteroids and foes. That action typically takes place in front of you, making this a relatively comfortable seated experience, though on a few occasions, a ship seemed to want to leave battle, forcing me to chase it outside of the usual bounds of combat. As you are controlling the ship almost like a toy, the scale of the game feels like you are playing with toys, with everything having a micro machine type vibe. You can push or pull your way through a stage, and getting in close to anything reveals a decent level of detail and care. Lighting effects and explosions are all on point, with the unique encounters during each run often supplying something new and exciting to look at, be it a huge creature in the background, a machine absorbing the energy from a planet, meteor shower, and a host more fun nearby objects to distract you from the distant void. Anything outside of combat is presented in text bubbles with moving images of whomever is speaking, which is a tad unfortunate, but no one ever gives any crazy speeches, and the pictures of the aliens do have some decent detail in them, making for an overall pleasant sci-fi visual experience. As far as the audio, a relatively epic sci-fi inspired soundtrack is present and changes with every encounter type, with sound effects all being on point, which is great, as some battles can be fairly hectic and the audio cues of incoming fire could be your only clue that something troubling is heading your way. Along for the ride is your robot companion Veer, who talks to you and elaborates upon the situation, fleshing out some of the encounters and the overall story. 3D audio is used here, but with a bulk of the action happening in front of you, it does feel underutilized, but outside of that, I really don't have any complaints about what I was hearing from Ghost Signal. Roguelites are a tricky genre for myself, as I tend to crave more narrative-heavy single-player experiences than repetitious game loops. With that said, Ghost Signal did pull me in, and I found myself saying just one more go on more than a few occasions, as I felt like the next run could be the run to get me to the end. The nature of the roguelite beast is that not all runs are equal, but with each failure, I still improved my odds for the next go due to those permanent perks, and thanks to the save feature, I could quit the game mid-run and continue where I left off at a later time. I enjoy that this isn't another first-person VR title, and while what's here may not be perfect, it's refined and one of the more chill but fun VR games I've played in recent memory. I'm going to give Ghost Signal, a Stellaris game, an 8 out of 10. I find myself coming back to this one again and again and again. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, and that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching.